Hello guys, welcome to another video tutorial. This week we're racing the NASCAR Cup car at the Charlotte Roval circuit. So it's a very fun, very tricky circuit, especially now with the new V7 tires. The car is it slides a lot, it's very hard to handle. So to do a little tutorial here, just showing you guys the lines and the inputs, just try to get you guys a little bit faster. So start here with my qualifying lap. It's an 18.5. This was a setup that was provided to me by this little guy right here, Gilaum. So thanks to him, it's a pretty good setup. I actually think it's an old version of a Sonoma setup that I did a while ago, but it still works. So, but either way, the iRacing Charlotte Roval 2019 setup is also pretty decent, and you should get pretty close to the lap times with that one as well. So just go to my qualifying lap right here. Let's watch it from Chase, just so we can spot all of the braking points and everything like that. Um, so to start up the lap, you just want to be, of course, as close to the right as you can. I am getting on the brakes right at the 3 marker here on the right. So you want to be very careful with your brake applications. The car gets very loose, especially if you try to turn with the brakes on. So I'm just doing about 50% here, maybe a little bit less once the tires are a little worn out. But basically, just want to be very careful with your brake application. Just a very little bit of brakes. Um, I'm just holding a second gear here all the way through. And as you can see, I'm completely off the brakes before I turn in. If you turn in with any sort of inputs on the brakes, the car is going to get loose and you're going to end up spinning. I even tapped the throttle a little bit there just to make sure that the rear is settled down. Just a little bit of throttle again to make sure that the rear is settled down. So here, very careful throttle application. I'm up to about 50% just as I clear the apex. Again, you can't really get back on the gas that much earlier than this, otherwise the car's gonna get very loose. So about 30 to 40% and slowly modulate. As you can see, as soon as I get over this little crest, I have a little bit of a buffer to go 100% on the gas, but it's just for a very brief moment, just right there. And just off the gas again. As you can see, the car is already sliding a little bit. So you just really have to modulate and just play around with this throttle percentage. Always putting the power down, but making sure you're always still under control and not sliding too much. Keep it very tight here as much as you can. You don't want to use the whole track here on the exit because you're just making it harder for yourself to set up for the right-hander. So you can leave a little bit of space, maybe even a little more than I did here. I just want to make sure that you can get to the left as early as possible to set up for the next corner. Again, just a little bit of 100% throttle here as the car gets straight, and I'm already back on the brakes. So here it's also important to be very early on the brakes. Again, the reason we're being so early on the brakes is because with this tire model, you just cannot brake and turn at the same time. So any sort of trail braking that you try to do here, the car is going to get very loose and you're going to end up spinning and losing the rear. So hard on the brakes here on the straight. By hard, I mean 30 to 40%. And again, I'm using the same technique. I'm getting on the gas a little bit to make sure that the rear is stable. So I'm just basically transferring the weight back to the rear because that's the only way that I can find to make this car not spin, especially in this corner. It's a little bit of gas, just holding the line. Something very important, and a little bit of brakes just to get the nose down afterwards. One thing that I see people do, I see people going off here a lot, opening up. If you notice, the track actually gets, you actually lose the camber here. So this is downhill, guys. Um, Let me try to lower. The. So I think we can kind of see it there. Yeah, so the track changes its camber a lot from here to here. So you want to stay here because then you have more grip turning. So there's a lot of camber here. There's negative camber on the other side. So if you just go over here, the car's just gonna slide off. So you're not gaining any time, I promise you, by going over there. So you want to make sure you stay to the right of this blue line. I actually went wide. You don't want to be this wide. You want to kiss that apex. So I probably should have braked a little bit harder over here. Again, it's hard to do mid corner because this car is just gonna slide a lot if you try to brake much harder. But ideally you want to be closer to this apex. You want to be hitting this rumble strip, not the blue. You want to hit the rumble strip, and by this point you want to be giving gas already. So again, I was too wide there. Maybe I'll find another lap where I'm a little better here to show you guys, but you just want to be much further inside and already on the gas by this point. Again, very careful throttle application. Use all the track. This is not an off track, so you can go all the way over here. You just, of course, don't want to touch the grass because that's going to be trouble. And I'm just holding second gear all the way through. So let's just watch this here in real time, the whole section. Pay attention to the inputs. Also very gentle with the steering inputs. As you can see, I'm not even going past 90 degrees. Alright, so we're back here. So I'm also holding second all the way over here. I'm not shifting up, as you can see, hitting the limiter there just a little bit. So second all the way. Again, same as the other corners. Brake early. Do not carry the brakes into the corner. A little bit of gas to keep the rear stable. Then you brake harder. You just trail brake this whole section here, because at this point, so most of the turning is done here. So at this point, you're not turning very much. So just a very little bit of it steering input and about 10% of brakes, just to slowly slow the car down and bring it down to the inside. So here you want to come as close as you can to this wall. You actually want to keep slowing down all the way until you're over here. So this is your tell that you can get back on the gas. And if you made it to this point, and you're still on top of the blue line, then you're good to get back on the gas. If you're anywhere over here, then you're gonna have to wait longer, because otherwise, if you get back on the gas and you're going too fast, you're just gonna wash all the way over here and you're gonna lose a lot of time. So keep this as tight as you can. Just hold second gear all the way through. No need to downshift or anything. So here again, you're giving as much throttle as you can, slowly slowly progressing the application of the throttle. So start at about 20%, have a feel for the car, see what it's doing, and just give it more and more, and just wait for the inputs to tell you what's going on. So as you can see, you can't even get up to 100% throttle without losing it. Right over here gets a little loose, so I have to hold that position. So I'm holding about 60% throttle right there. There's no need to brake for this corner, guys. You can actually hold the throttle all the way through, of course, very little, but as you can see, I touched the brakes briefly there for about for a split of a second, just to get the nose in, just to make sure that I'm not gonna push off to the wall. Um, it's very important the exit to this corner here, because then this line gets much easier to be done. You want to get all the way to the inside, as close to the cones as you can without hitting them. So as you can see, I'm just throttle all the way through here, except for that brief moment on the brakes. I'm just throttle all the way through to make it just making sure that I open up as much as I can. It's very easy to turn in too early for this corner. So other reason why I'm pressing the gas is to just push me forward and push me wide. To make sure that I'm not doing this other turn here too early, because that's gonna mess up your line totally. So right here again, two quick little tabs on the brakes, just to bring the nose in. So just there, I noticed the car was a little too far wide. So just touch touch the brakes again, push the nose in, and again right back on the gas. Slowly progress with the throttle all the way up to the wall. So just watch this section here, full time in the cockpit view. Be very mindful of the inputs, especially the brakes and the steering. Just pay attention or of how little steering I'm using. All right, up to third gear, then up to fourth gear. Now a little trick for this little exit. I was actually too wide here, so if you can hold this corner tighter than I did over here, the tighter you can hold, the easier it's going to be to hold flat on this exit without the car getting loose. Because if you're up wide, if you're anywhere over this middle line here, by the time you reach the stars, you're probably too wide and the car's going to get loose. So by the way you get right over here, this is going to happen. The car's going to lose the rear end and you're going to have to get off the throttle. So the further inside you can stay, while of course still holding flat, because you know if you're having to lift, then you miss the point. But if you can stay as tight as you can through the exit right here, the car is not going to get loose once it goes over the crest, and you can just hold it all the way. Alright, so now here, so braking right at the 5. You can brake even later, but it's really hard with this car because you have to nail the downshifts. um, So here you're gonna get as hard as you can on the brakes. This is the hardest you're gonna apply the brakes because you're on a flat surface, so it's easy to do. As you can see, about 75 to 80% brakes over there. Clean downshifts with the blip on each one. And of course, as soon as you get to the turning point, you want to be getting off the brakes. I actually trailed them a little too far there, so you ideally want to be at like 25% ish once you put your first steering input. As you can see, I'm getting off the brakes, trailing a little bit. You can use this curb here quite a bit, so be generous to it. So you can go all the way over the blue, just like I did over there. Car's gonna bounce a little bit, but nothing too crazy. Over here, you can get a little bit of the blue as well. Ideally, you want to get mostly just a rumble strip, but getting a little bit of the blue is fine. You're just gonna delay your throttle application a little bit. And here I'm just holding second gears, guys. So I'm not going down to first. I did it a couple times. It doesn't really get you anything. It's just harder to control the throttle application afterwards. So just hold second gear all the way through, and you should be good. So so you do have to wait for the car to bounce around after you hit the curb. So just wait for it to bounce around, and then once it lands, you can start giving gas. So, initial 40 to 50% application. So all I'm doing here is I'm just having a feel. So the car bounces down, I get on the gas, I have a feel. What's the rear doing? Is it gripping or not? If it's gripping, I start giving it more and more. And if I feel like I'm good to go, I just go 100% throttle. So third gear, fourth gear. Um, Very hard to keep this flat all the way through, especially because you have to get back to the left to get on the brakes. So doing a little lift here just to make sure the car is still holding its line. It can also get loose if you try to turn too much with the full throttle. So just 80% throttle there just to keep it on the line. And as you can see, I'm getting on the brakes just before this first little sign right here. Also practice your pit entries, by the way. If you start braking here for your pit entry, it's probably way too late. So you want to get down, you probably want to get down to the bottom on the apron before this here, and you want to brakes way before this. You want to get on the brakes way before this to get your pits done. So you're probably going to have to pit twice for this race, by the way. So so right here, so again, very small initial brake application because you're turning still. I even gave a little tab there on the throttle just to make sure that the rear is planted. As the car gets straighter and as you downshift, you can get harder on the brakes. Now you can get actually all the way over here for your braking. Um, I didn't do it this time just because I just couldn't get the car to turn more, even though I'm trying. Um, but you can actually get, I believe you can get all the way, if you see this line here going on the grass, you can get all the way on top of here. And the car doesn't lose grip for some reason, so it loses no grip. You can brake hard, and it's just gonna set you up better for over there. So again, I'm the hardest right at the end, just because the car's finally straight at this point, so you can get even more braking done. Um, so again, just before you're turning, you wanna get off the brakes just to make sure you're not carrying too much brakes in, because that's gonna overload the front tires. So the tires cannot brake and turn at the same time. So you have to transfer that grip from the braking to turning. So I get back on the gas here, just again making sure that the weight is back on the rear, so the car doesn't get loose. Hit the curb. You can be generous with this curb as well. You can hit the blue over here. It's fine. If you have a little bit of throttle as you go over it, it actually keeps the car to helps the car to keep stable as it bounces. Be generous with the throttle once it lands in between these two curbs. No need to brake for the left curb. You're actually just getting on the gas. You're just playing around with your throttle application at this point. Over here, you want to hit only the rumble strip. Do not hit the blue because that's going to delay. And it's going to delay your throttle application and it's going to make you lose, most likely. So then you just progress the throttle right there to the wall. That was an 18.5, so not too bad. Not a perfect lap by any means, but um, very decent, very decent lap time. So let's just watch this race lap 3, um, a lap here, because I think it was a cleaner-ish lap. So we can just watch this in full time, and then we can wrap it up. Alright guys, this is it. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope this can help a few of you guys out there that were struggling. So thank you very much. Good luck on the track.